Good morning, YouTube. So I'm coming back to you, your girl Alex. I've been getting a lot of questions, and I know I said I would make another video about it, so I'm back to do that. I'm sorry for the delay. Biggest question that I had was relating to credit reporting. So I'm gonna break this up into several different videos to give a perspective on each one. But where I want to start is about getting inquiries removed. Someone asked me, who did I use to get my business inquiries removed? I actually did it myself. So I did a lot of research on that kind of stuff to see what was effective and what worked. And so at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you something, not really a hack, but just an idea, thought, something to think about in the event that you have had fraudulent activity on your credit report. So as it relates to TransUnion, I did that and Experian myself. So TransUnion, you're able to do disputes online, you're able to call, and then you're able to snail mail. So first thing I did was I just pulled a random kind of template off of the internet. I kind of made it my own, so I didn't make it the exact verbiage of the template that I had downloaded. But pretty much, you're writing this letter telling them the scenario that either you didn't authorize the inquiries that are on your report, or you didn't authorize them from that particular vendor that ran them. And so there are instances, so say for instance, you have something that goes into collections and with T-Mobile, and T-Mobile sells that collection to a third party, and they start viewing your credit based on this now collection account that they have. Well, the thing is, you have a debt with T-Mobile, not the collection agency. And so if T-Mobile puts something on your credit, it's validated, but law offices of ABC, you never signed a contract with them, you're not in an agreement with them, you have no relationship with them. Granted, they can take you to court for the money because they bought the debt. However, they don't have your permission to put inquiries on your credit report, if that makes sense. And so, of course, with things like that, you have to look at your state laws, because state laws come into play with that. But let me circle back. And so with the template for the letter, put it in a scenario, like I said, didn't authorize, wasn't me, don't know who did it, those type of things. And you write that up in the letter. And then you be very specific about what inquiries you're addressing. Even if it's the only one in your credit report, you still have to address it by name and tell the circumstances specific to that inquiry. So you're putting December 12th, 2018, law offices of ABC, what's the scenario? And you need to do that for each one, date and name. And so my first thing that I did was I sent out letters. I did the letter thing first. I put the inquiries on there, and I sent out letters to TransUnion, Experian, Equifax. So as a response to that, Experian and TransUnion dealt with like one or two here or there. I'm like, okay, let's try this again. So then I went online. I did an online dispute. And same thing, either it was found to be factual or nothing, or maybe one here or there. And so I did that between mailing and online probably more times than I really like to admit. But even ones that I've mailed about twice, maybe the third time they finally took it off, or maybe the second time. So it was very strange for me. I'm not sure how they decided what to look at and what they didn't, but I got to the point where I was able to successfully get them off. And so as it relates to business credit cards and all that, those are substantiated even more because they're only running your credit, as we talked about in the last video, for a PG, personal guarantee. However, that account is not a personal account. So say if so in instance where BB&T for me, for one of the cards that I did do, I don't have any personal accounts with BB&T. So all there is an inquiry with BB&T, but I don't have any accounts with them. My business does. And so in those instances, those are a little bit easier because there's no connection. Like there's no connection. Now I've watched a couple videos and I've read a little bit where it's highly discouraged that you try to dispute inquiries for accounts that you actually do have open. Like if you have a personal Chase credit card, don't dispute the inquiry because it could potentially affect the actual card. I don't know if that's actually true, but enough people have said it. And one of those, I guess, is not as bad as something where you don't even have an account, positive or negative, to show for it. So keep that in mind. Now, I gave you those two scenarios with TransUnion and Experian. Equifax, on the other hand, they have not budged. They're like, these have shown to be factual. And I'm like, based on what? And so Equifax wants you to take the scenic route, to go and contact those creditors that are there yourself and request a deletion letter from the creditors yourself, and then send Equifax a deletion letter, and then they said they'll get rid of it. So gotta figure out if that's worth it to you. And then last thing on that part of things is that several sources are saying that you have a better effective rate if you call. I don't like talking on the phone, so that was like my last resort. I ended up doing that for a couple inquiries on TransUnion, and it ended up being effective. It was effective, and I'm like, oh, I guess I could have done this a couple months ago, but I really don't like talking on the phone, so I didn't do it first. So yeah, that's as it relates to inquiry. So the thing is, when you're paying these agencies, credit repair and all this stuff, they're doing a lot of the same thing, but they're doing the legwork for you. And I want to put it out there that just because it's not on your credit report does not mean you don't owe the money. So that's for collections. That's just not, I'm not, inquiries for credit cards and stuff like that. That's one thing. But be clear, with collections, you still owe the money. Okay? So let me move on to this that I found out. So these days with technology and cyber warfare and whatever else you want to call it, we've all probably gotten a letter in the mail that reads, "Dear Mr. Mrs. such and such, our systems have been hacked and your information was a part of the hack, and we're providing you with a year of credit monitoring just in case something happens." I've gotten probably 3 in the last year. So if in the event that you have fraudulent inquiries or activity on your credit report, you can use that letter as proof. Like, let's say, for instance, that there was fraud over here. You don't know the source of it per se. Then you get this letter in the mail. There's not 100% connection. There's a correlation, but not necessarily causation, because we don't have the proof that that's where it came from. However, all of a sudden this happens, and then you get this letter in the mail. So when you're also appealing to these credit bureaus for fraudulent activity on your credit report, provide documentation if you have it. I know I've gotten used to just throwing those letters in the trash. But the last one, for whatever reason, I didn't, because I was actually appalled by the institution that said that theirs was extensive. It was, someone hacked our systems. They got your information in February. They made us pay a ransom to get it back. We didn't get it back until May, and they were just telling me in October. And I was like, so you couldn't have told me in February that my information was compromised? And to include, they were like, they have access to your social security number, the full thing, your address, and like, that was the first one where they said that I've gotten that said they got access to your full social security number. So I was like, okay. So that one I actually kept, and I used it as my documentation to appeal to these, when I had these inquiries that weren't mine. I used that letter and said, hey, here's a letter where this institution that I've previously done business with admits that my information was out of their control for what, February, March, April, May, 3-4 months, and it's not my fault. And so that worked really fast, providing that documentation. So if you have documentation of, you know, the agreement you have with the company and what they said they would do as it relates to inquiries, and then you come up with 10 inquiries as opposed to the one with the company you have the relationship with, provide that stuff and give context in a written summary to explain it. And then if you feel like, you know, and you always have the option to call and provide supplemental information to be added to your file. And so those are a little things that I found. So biggest thing is Equifax. They're tough cookies. I'm not gonna tell you differently. Somebody else might tell you something different, but for me, Equifax are tough cookies. Experian and TransUnion, between their customer service and their online setup, to be able to dispute certain things, I found it to be pretty easy, but you have to be patient and persistent with those two portals. So I just wanted to cover that about deletions of inquiries, and the information is pretty much the same for collections, inquiries, debts, and all that stuff. But like I said, you still owe them people their money, so pay them, and then get a deletion letter once you pay them, so it can come off your credit report. But anyway, that's all I got for you right now. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully you found this helpful. Questions below. Comments are appreciated. Likes are definitely appreciated. Subscribes are mandatory. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.